moment billionaire Harrison Blackwood told me to dance this waltz or you're nothing, he had no idea he was speaking to a 3-time national ballroom champion who'd given up everything for love. I'm standing there in my black Maid's uniform, at Manhattan's most exclusive charity gala, watching this tech mogul smirk at me like I'm some kind of entertainment for his wealthy friends. My name is Celeste Rivera, and 3 years ago I was headlining dance competitions across the country. Tonight I'm scrubbing wine stains off marble floors at the Plaza Hotel. Harrison Blackwood, the 45-year-old founder of Blackwood Technologies, owns half of Silicon Valley and treats people like they're lines of code he can rewrite. He's standing there in his $1,000 tuxedo, surrounded by New York's elite, completely unaware that he's about to make the biggest mistake of his privileged life. You see, my grandmother Esperanza Rivera didn't just teach me how to dance. She taught me that true strength comes from knowing exactly who you are, even when the world tries to make you forget. And right now, staring at this arrogant billionaire who thinks my dreams are worth mocking, I'm about to remember exactly who Celeste Rivera used to be. The music is playing, the crowd is watching, and Harrison has no clue that he just challenged the wrong maid to prove her worth on the dance floor. 3 years ago, my life looked completely different. I was Celeste Rivera, the girl who started dancing at age 5 in my grandmother's cramped Brooklyn apartment. By 25, I had won 3 consecutive national ballroom championships and was training for international competitions. Dance magazines featured me on their covers. My apartment walls were covered with ribbons, trophies, and photos of me in glittering gowns, spinning across stages from New York to Los Angeles. Then I met Dr. Nathan Cross during his medical residency at Mount Sinai. He was brilliant, ambitious, and everything my practical-minded parents thought I needed. Nathan had plans for us, he said. Real plans that didn't involve what he called prancing around in sparkly dresses for strangers' entertainment. Dancing is beautiful, Celeste, but it's not sustainable, he told me one night after I'd spent 14 hours in rehearsal. You're 25. How much longer can your body handle this? What happens when you're 35 and some 18-year-old takes your place? I loved Nathan. I thought love meant compromise, sacrifice, putting someone else's dreams ahead of your own. So I quit. I sold my competition gowns, packed away my dance shoes, and got a job with Pinnacle Event Services to support us while Nathan finished his residency. Now I spend my days invisible, moving through Manhattan's most exclusive venues in a black uniform that might as well be a costume for disappearing. I polish silverware that costs more than I make in a month. I watch wealthy couples glide across dance floors where I once performed, and I feel like I'm watching my own ghost. My grandmother Esperanza passed away 6 months after I quit dancing. Her last words to me were in Spanish. Mija, you can change your clothes, but you cannot change your soul. I didn't understand what she meant then. Tonight, standing in the Plaza Hotel's grand ballroom, watching couples attempt moves I could execute in my sleep, I'm starting to remember. The charity gala is in full swing around me. Women in designer gowns laugh too loudly while their husbands discuss stock prices between champagne toasts. The orchestra plays classical waltzes that make my muscle memory ache. I'm supposed to be invisible. Just another member of the staff ensuring their perfect evening runs smoothly. But I catch myself swaying slightly to the music, my feet automatically positioning themselves in first position, even though I'm wearing scuffed work shoes instead of dance heels. 3 years of suppressing this part of myself, and my body still remembers every count, every rhythm, every breath of the music that used to be my entire world. That's when Harrison Blackwood notices me watching the dancers, and everything changes. It happens so fast I barely have time to react. Harrison Blackwood's date, socialite Vivian Sterling, stumbles during a particularly complex waltz sequence, her silver heel catching in the hem of her emerald green gown. The glass of red wine in her hand goes flying, splashing across her dress and pooling on the pristine marble floor. I'm there in seconds, like I've been trained to be, kneeling with my cleaning supplies while the couple stands frozen above me. Vivian's face is flushed with embarrassment and anger, while Harrison looks around desperately, as if someone else might materialize to handle this crisis. This is a $15,000 Valentino gown, Vivian hisses, staring at the stain spreading across the silk. This is completely ruined. I work quickly and quietly, trying to clean the floor while staying invisible, but I can't help myself. As the orchestra continues playing, I find myself studying the other couples on the dance floor. I watch a woman struggling with a simple natural turn, her partner practically dragging her through the steps. Another couple attempts a promenade, but their timing is completely off, making the elegant move look clunky and forced. My body responds before my mind can stop it. I catch myself unconsciously shifting my weight, my torso rotating slightly as I mirror the correct positioning they should be using. My grandmother used to say that watching bad dancing was like hearing someone sing off key. It physically hurt if you really understood music. That's when Harrison notices me. His eyes narrow as he watches me swaying slightly to the rhythm while I clean. "Excuse me," he says, his voice cutting through the music. "Are you watching the dancers?" I look up, still kneeling on the marble floor with a wine-stained cloth in my hands. "I was just cleaning the spill, sir. I'll be finished in just a moment." But Harrison's ego is bruised from his date's public stumble, and he needs someone to take it out on. He studies me with the cold calculation of someone who's used to being the smartest person in the room. "No, I saw you watching them dance. You think it looks easy, don't you?" His voice gets louder, drawing attention from nearby guests. Standing. They're daydreaming like you're in some kind of fairy tale. The conversations around us start to fade as people sense drama brewing. I can feel eyes turning toward us, phones being discreetly positioned to record whatever happens next. "I wasn't daydreaming, sir. I was just doing my job." Harrison steps closer, his voice taking on that particular tone wealthy men use when they want to remind everyone of their place in the world. "I've seen that look before on people like you. You watch from the sidelines thinking you could do what they're doing. Like dancing is just something you pick up from watching movies." Vivian smirks beside him, apparently recovered from her embarrassment and ready to enjoy mine. Other staff members freeze, sensing that whatever happens next could cost me my job. "I'll tell you what," Harrison continues, his voice now loud, enough that the nearby orchestra players are glancing over. "Since you seem so mesmerized by all this, why don't you show us what you think you know? Dance this waltz, or admit you're nothing more than what you appear to be." The challenge hangs in the air like a blade. Around us, conversations have stopped completely. I can hear the rustle of expensive fabric as people turn to watch, the soft clicks of phone cameras being activated. My heart pounds as I realize what's happening. This isn't just about cleaning up spilled wine anymore. This is about everything. I've spent 3 years trying to forget, standing up and demanding to be acknowledged. In my peripheral vision, I see other staff members looking at me with a mixture of sympathy and fear. They know what I know. Refuse this challenge and face public humiliation. Accept it and risk making a fool of myself in front of New York's elite. Either way, I'll probably lose my job. But as the orchestra plays on, something deeper stirs in my chest. It's been 3 years since I've heard live music like this. 3 years since I've felt the pull of rhythm in my bones. For just a moment, I'm not Celeste the maid. I'm not Nathan's sensible fiancé who gave up childish dreams. I'm Celeste Rivera, and this man just challenged me to prove who I really am. The orchestra transitions into a new piece, and my heart stops. It's Chopin's Waltz in A-flat major, the same music I danced to when I won my first national championship at 18. My grandmother was in the front row that night, tears streaming down her face as I took my final bow. Standing there on the marble floor with wine stains on my uniform and Harrison Blackwood's smirk burning into me, I hear Esperanza's voice as clearly as if she were standing beside me. "Mija, you don't dance for them. You dance for the music, for the joy, for the part of you that refuses to die." Something shifts deep in my chest. For 3 years I've been living Nathan's version of my life, where dreams are impractical and security matters more than passion. But Nathan isn't here. He's at the hospital, probably not even thinking about me, while I'm surrounded by people who think they know exactly who I am based on my uniform. I stand up slowly, my cleaning supplies forgotten on the floor. The crowd watches, expecting me to either run away in embarrassment or stumble through some awkward attempt at dancing that will give them a good laugh to share at their next dinner party. But as I rise to my full height, something fundamental changes in my posture. My spine straightens with the muscle memory of 15 years of training. My shoulders settle back and down. My chin lifts slightly, not in defiance, but in the quiet confidence that only comes from knowing exactly what your body can do. "Mr. Blackwood," I say, my voice carrying clearly over the music, "I accept your challenge." The crowd murmurs, surprised by the steadiness in my tone. Harrison's smirk widens, clearly delighted that I'm about to humiliate myself for his entertainment. "But," I continue, reaching down to slip off my scuffed work shoes, "I should warn you about something. I never dance alone." I set my shoes carefully to the side and stand barefoot on the cold marble, feeling the familiar connection between my feet and the floor that every trained dancer knows. The crowd watches, confused by this strange ritual. "Since you made the dare," I say, looking directly into Harrison's eyes, "you'll be my partner." The murmur from the crowd becomes a gasp. Harrison's expression shifts from amusement to confusion to something that might be panic. He glances around at his wealthy friends, realizing he's been trapped by his own arrogance. "That's not what I meant," he stammers, but it's too late. The crowd is already forming a circle around us, and someone calls out, "Come on, Harrison. You can't back down now." Vivian steps back, her smirk fading as she realizes this might not go the way she expected. Harrison straightens his bow tie, trying to regain his composure. "Fine," he says, though his voice lacks its earlier confidence. "Let's see what the help can do." He offers me his hand with the same condescending attitude he might use to humor a child. But the moment I take his hand and step into proper dance position, everything changes. I close my eyes and let the music wash over me. For the first time in 3 years, I stop fighting against who I used to be. I stop listening to Nathan's voice telling me to be practical. I stop caring about what anyone else thinks I should or shouldn't be. I am Celeste Rivera. I am a dancer. And I am about to remind everyone in this room, including myself, exactly what that means. The music swells, and I open my eyes to find Harrison staring at me with a mixture of confusion and growing concern. He can feel it too, the shift in energy, the way I've transformed from submissive maid to something else entirely. "Ready?" I ask softly, and for the first time tonight, I'm the one smiling. The first note plays, and 15 years of muscle memory explode back to life in my body. I lead Harrison into a basic waltz box step, and immediately I can feel the difference between us. He's competent enough for social dancing, the kind of lessons wealthy men take to avoid embarrassing themselves at charity galas. But I am something else entirely. By the fourth measure, I'm guiding him through natural turns that make his footwork look clumsy despite his expensive shoes. My bare feet glide across the marble as if I'm floating, each step perfectly timed to the music's rhythm. The crowd, which had been chattering and positioning their phones for entertainment, falls completely silent. I close my eyes and let the music take control. This is Chopin, complex and demanding, requiring not just technical skill, but emotional interpretation. My body remembers everything, the way my ribcage should expand with each breath, how my arms should frame the space around us, the precise angle of my head that creates the perfect line from fingertips to toe. Harrison tries to keep up, but I can feel his confusion through his hands. He expected to lead a stumbling maid through some embarrassing approximation of dancing. Instead, he's being guided by someone who understands that dancing isn't just moving to music, it's becoming the music. I execute a perfect promenade, my free arm extending in a graceful arc while Harrison scrambles to match the position. Then I lead him into reverse turns, each rotation building in complexity and speed. The crowd isn't just silent now, they're mesmerized. Phones that were recording for mockery are now capturing something extraordinary. My God, I hear someone whisper, but the voice sounds far away, like it's coming from another world. As we move into the second section of the waltz, I feel Harrison's growing panic. His palm is sweating against mine, and his breathing is labored as he tries to follow patterns that are beyond his skill level. But I'm not dancing for him anymore. I'm not even dancing for the crowd. I'm dancing for my grandmother, who taught me that movement is prayer. I'm dancing for every competition where I pushed my body beyond its limits. I'm dancing for the 18-year-old girl who won nationals and thought the whole world was possible. I'm dancing for every dream I buried when I convinced myself that love meant sacrifice. For the waltz's final section, I know Harrison can't follow me where I'm going. I gently release his hands, giving him a small nod that says, "Thank you," and "I'm sorry," and "This is who I really am," all at once. The final minute is mine alone. I spin across the marble floor in a series of chainy turns that I haven't attempted in 3 years, my body remembering the exact spots of balance even in bare feet. Then I transition into traveling waltzes, covering the entire dance floor in sweeping, floating steps that make my black uniform look like it's billowing around me. The orchestra, sensing something magical happening, plays with extra passion. The conductor catches my eye and nods, and I realize they're matching my interpretation of the music, not just playing their arrangement. For the climactic sequence, I perform a series of grand jetés across the diagonal of the dance floor, leaping through the air with the same power and grace that once earned me standing ovations. My grandmother always said that in moments like these, gravity becomes a suggestion rather than a law. I end in the exact center of the floor, arms extended toward the crystal chandeliers, my chest rising and falling as the final notes fade into silence. For a heartbeat, no one moves, no one breathes. Then someone starts clapping, and the sound breaks the spell. The entire ballroom erupts in applause, but I barely hear it because I'm still floating in that space between music and movement where everything makes perfect sense. That's when an elderly woman in diamonds steps forward from the crowd, her eyes wide with recognition. "Dear Lord in heaven," she says, her voice carrying over the applause. "You're Celeste Rivera. I saw you dance at Lincoln Center 5 years ago. You were absolutely magnificent." The room explodes with whispers. Celeste Rivera, the champion. I thought she retired. Phone screens light up as people frantically Google my name, and I watch faces change from confusion to recognition to amazement. Harrison stands frozen in the center of the floor, his expensive tuxedo disheveled, his face pale with the realization of what just happened. He challenged a maid to dance and instead discovered he'd been mocking a 3-time national champion. I walk over to where I left my shoes, my feet still warm from the marble, my heart still pounding with the rhythm of the music. The crowd parts as I move, and I can feel their eyes on me, reassessing everything they thought they knew about the invisible staff around them. I slip my work shoes back on and look directly at Harrison Blackwood, who hasn't moved or spoken since. I released his hands. "You're right, Mr. Blackwood," I say, my voice carrying clearly in the hushed ballroom. "I am nothing. I'm nothing like the person I used to be, and I'm nothing like the person I thought I had to become." But for 3 minutes and 27 seconds, I remembered who I was before I let someone convince me I was nothing. The crowd holds its breath, waiting for his response, but Harrison just stares at me like he's seeing a ghost. I pick up my cleaning supplies and turn to leave, but not before I add one final thought. "Thank you for the dance, Mr. Blackwood. It's been 3 years since anyone challenged me to be myself." I walk toward the service exit, my cleaning supplies in hand, expecting to slip back into invisibility, but the crowd doesn't let me disappear. They part like water as I move, and suddenly I'm surrounded by voices, business cards, and requests. "Miss Rivera, I run the Metropolitan Dance Academy," says a woman with silver hair and perfect posture. "We've been looking for someone with your credentials to head our advanced program." A man in an expensive suit steps forward. "I'm casting for the new Broadway revival of An American in Paris." "You should audition. There's a documentary being made about disappeared champions in competitive dance," another voice calls out. "Your story could inspire thousands of young dancers. The attention is overwhelming after 3 years of being invisible." But what strikes me most is how different their voices sound now. An hour ago, these same people looked through me like I was furniture. Now they see me, really see me, because I finally remembered how to see myself. Harrison stands motionless in the center of the dance floor, his face cycling through emotions. I recognize embarrassment, anger, and something that might be shame. Vivienne has abandoned him entirely, probably calculating how this humiliation might affect her social standing. I don't stay to watch his reaction. I have a more important conversation waiting for me. The next morning, I call in sick to Pinnacle Event Services. Then I drive to Nathan's apartment, the video of my dance already going viral on social media with hashtags like Dance or You're Nothing and Your Hidden Talent trending across every platform. Nathan is still in his scrubs from his overnight shift when he answers the door. He looks exhausted, distracted, already reaching for his coffee before his brain processes that I'm standing there at 8 in the morning. "Celeste, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be at work?" I show him my phone, where the video has been viewed over 2 million times in 12 hours. His face changes as he watches me spin across that marble floor, transforming from maid to artist in real time. "When did you film this?" he asks, and I realize he doesn't even know I was working the gala last night. "This was yesterday, Nathan, at the Plaza Hotel Charity Gala." He watches the entire video in silence, his expression shifting from confusion to something I can't quite read. When it ends, he looks at me like he's seeing a stranger. "I forgot," he says quietly, "how good you were." I didn't forget. I just convinced myself it didn't matter. We talk for 2 hours, the kind of conversation we should have had 3 years ago. I tell him about the emptiness I've felt, how I've been sleepwalking through a life that never fit. He admits that he liked having me depend on him, liked being the practical one with the stable career while I gave up my hobby. It was never a hobby, Nathan. It was who I am. He can't understand why I'm ending our engagement over one dance, one moment of recognition. But that's exactly why I have to end it. He sees the dance as an isolated incident, while I know it was my soul refusing to stay buried any longer. 3 months later, I'm teaching advanced classes at the Metropolitan Dance Academy by day and training for my comeback by night. My apartment walls are covered with mirrors instead of wedding magazines. My body aches in the familiar way that means I'm pushing limits again, reaching for something beyond what I thought was possible. The phone call comes on a Tuesday morning while I'm reviewing choreography for my students. "Miss Rivera, this is Harrison Blackwood's assistant. Mr. Blackwood would like to book your studio for private lessons for his daughter's wedding dance." I almost hang up, but curiosity wins out. "Private lessons? For how long?" "He specifically requested you as the instructor." He said, and I quote, "My daughter deserves the best teacher in the city, and I've learned not to underestimate people based on appearances." 2 weeks later, Harrison Blackwood walks into my studio with his 24-year-old daughter Rebecca, who's getting married in 6 months. He's wearing jeans and a simple button-down shirt instead of his power suits, and he looks smaller somehow, more human. "Miss Rivera," he says, extending his hand formally, "thank you for agreeing to work with Rebecca. I know my behavior at the gala was inexcusable." Rebecca rolls her eyes. "Dad's been watching that video obsessively and telling everyone who will listen that he danced with a national champion. It's actually pretty embarrassing." I work with Rebecca for an hour, teaching her the basics of frame and posture for her wedding waltz. She's a natural student, eager to learn and unafraid of making mistakes. Harrison watches from the corner, silent and respectful. As they're leaving, Harrison pauses at the door. "I want you to know," he says, "I've thought about that night every day for 3 months. Not because it went viral, but because you showed me something I'd forgotten." "What's that?" "That the most valuable thing you can lose is other people's low expectations of you." I smile, remembering my grandmother's voice. My abuela used to say that dancing chooses you, not the other way around. I thought I had abandoned dance, but really, I had just forgotten how to listen to the music that was always playing in my heart. Harrison nods, understanding more than I expected he would. "For what it's worth," he adds, "watching you dance that night didn't just change how I see other people. It changed how I see myself." After they leave, I stand in my empty studio, surrounded by mirrors that reflect infinite versions of myself. The woman looking back at me has calloused feet and strong shoulders, and eyes that sparkle with possibility instead of resignation. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is remember who you were before the world told you who you should be. That night at the Plaza Hotel, dancing barefoot on marble in my maid's uniform, I didn't just prove Harrison Blackwood wrong about my abilities. I proved myself wrong about my limitations, And that, more than any championship or standing ovation, was worth every second of those 3 minutes and 27 seconds when I finally came home to myself. If this story reminded you that your dreams are worth fighting for, hit that like button. And if you've ever had to choose between who you were and who others expected you to be, subscribe, because I share stories about people who refused to stay small just to make others comfortable. Your worth isn't defined by other people's expectations, and sometimes all it takes is one moment of courage to change everything. What dreams have you buried that might be worth rediscovering? Let me know in the comments below.